introduce what is pipelining, superscalar, and out of order. Now, this is just for explaining some fundamentals. We will keep it outside the course. So, just a minute. Okay, so the reason I'm discussing this point is that we will discuss how deep learning is performed on smartphones. Okay, so but to understand, the architectural side of a smartphone, we need to understand what is out of order code and in order code. So just to explain that, I'm explaining this. But this presentation is it's like a core computer architecture topic. So this is not very directly relevant for our course on computer architecture for AI. But we need to understand some terms. So that's why I'm discussing this topic. So in a very brief manner. So even though you don't know completely about what the pipelining and all is, we are discussing it here. So in it, see, as you know, whenever a computer executes some instruction, it executes them in order. That means the instruction which comes first, that is executed first. The one which comes next, that will be executed next. That means the order in which instructions arrive, in that order itself, they will be executed. Now, in pipelining, there is a partial overlap of consecutive instructions. Okay, so it is just like that. For example, we have, suppose, some program which takes 4 years. Okay, UG program, suppose, or PG program which takes, suppose, 2 years. So in PG program, in 2021 we admit the first batch. Okay, then in 2022 we admit the next batch. Okay, and in 2023 the batch which entered 2021, they graduate and one more batch enters, right? So it's not that we admit one batch in 2 years. We admit we admit a batch in every year, and in each year the first batch moves to the next stage and next stage and next stage, and until they get out of the institute. So that's called pipelining, right? Although we have multiple students, but they are not in the same stage. Some of them are in first year, some of them are in second year. Okay, so that's the idea. So that's called pipeline. Similarly, in instructions also, see, for any instruction, we need to first fetch the instruction, then decode, then execute, and then do memory access and so on. Right? So these are like different stages of a pipeline. Just like when a car is processed, somebody has to fetch the metal, make the make the engine, assemble the car, polish the car, right, and send it out to the warehouse, whatever. So all these stages a car goes through, but in different stages. So you can process multiple cars, but in different stages. Okay, so that's the idea. So in pipelining, there is partial overlap of consecutive instructions. We initiate one instruction per cycle, and subsequent instructions overlap partially. And in each cycle, we commit one instruction. So now, can we do better than pipelining? So let us see the execution of this piece of code. This is a simple while loop. Okay, do, then sum, then while. So here, you may not know what is assembly language instruction. That doesn't matter. I hope at least simple things you can understand. For example, here when we say load, we load from this location and save the value in this register R2. Similarly, when we say add R3, R3, R2, so we add the value of R3 with R2 and save the result back in R3. Okay. Similarly, subtract means we subtract 1 from R1. So as you can see, this I minus minus. And then if R1 value is not equal to R0, then we branch to loop. That means if I has not reached 0, we again loop there. Okay, so even if you couldn't understand from how from this C code we get the assembly, that's fine. The point is about seeing which of them are independent, which of them are dependent. So in the pipelining, this is how we will work. We'll do fetch, decode, and load. So this is a load instruction. We have to first fetch it, then we decode it, then we'll execute the load instruction. Similarly, here we fetch, decode, and add. This is the add instruction. Similarly, we do fetch, decode, subtract, then we fetch, decode, VNE. So this is how we will execute them if there was pipelining. Now in the superscalar execution, we realize that this add and subtract, they are mutually independent. Okay, so we can fetch them together, we can decode them together, we can add or we can execute them together. We can do this add and subtract together. Right? So that's the idea of superscalar execution. So in the pipeline, the whole point was we had only one fetch unit, we had only one decode unit, and we had only one execute unit. But here to do superscalar execution, we'll need two fetch units. We will need two decode units. And we will need two execute units because we are doing fetch of two instructions. We are doing decode of two instructions. We are doing execute of two instructions. Okay, is it fine? So that is superscalar execution. Now here it was two-way superscalar. We could have three-way superscalar. That means we will have hardware. We have 3 times the hardware for fetch. That means we can fetch 3 instructions. Similarly, we can have 3 decode hardware so that we can decode 3 instructions. Similarly, we have execute for 3 instructions, so we can execute 3 instructions in a go. Right? So similarly, we can have increasing superscalarity. Now, in principle, superscalar is not much different than pipelining, because you can see between this and this, there is not much difference, right? It is just that instead of pipelining, we are doing superscalar execution. Program order, we are not changing the program order. Some instructions they execute in parallel. For example, here add and subtract, they are executing in parallel, but it's not out of order. They still execute overall. They are not violating the program order. Okay, and one more thing is superscalar and pipelining. They are two different ideas. They are not same ideas. They are orthogonal. We can have superscalar non-pipelined machine. We can have pipelining but without superscalar, and we can have both superscalar and pipelining. Now we'll see that what is out of order execution. So most of the high performance CPU that you see, for example, from AMD or Intel, they use out of order execution to achieve high performance. Okay, so out of order execution will give you high performance, but the complexity is also increase and the energy overhead also increases. Okay, so that is the limitation of out of order execution. So now in we will see this. So let us see this for this case. Okay, so here again, how you get from this to this, that's not so important. But here you can see we are doing add, then we are doing load, then we are doing add, sub, and BNE. Okay, so in the superscalar, we suppose we have we can do we have two-way superscalarity, so that we can fetch this and this together, we can fetch this and this together, and we can fetch suppose this alone. So first we fetch this. Now here add and subtract, they can be executed together in superscalar because they are independent of each other. But load and add cannot be executed together because here only when we have value of R2 available with us, then only we can do add. So here there is dependency. Here also there is dependency. Here is also there is dependency. But add and subtract, they have no dependency. That's why they can be executed in parallel. That is what superscalar is. In out of order, we realize that here this add and subtract, they have no dependency on each other. So we can execute subtract even before we have executed load and add. Okay, we are executing subtract even before we have executed load and add. That's why it's called out of order, as the name suggests. We are doing out of order execution. That means we are executing an instruction which comes later, but we are executing it first. Okay. So whole point is here you can see in between if you were to study here in between, it is inconsistent. How can subtract, execute before load? But finally, eventually you will see that all the instructions are executed in order. Okay. So I'm not discussing all the points which are on the slide because this is not so very relevant. So here, 2 or more instructions can execute in any order if they have no dependencies. Okay, and again, out of order is orthogonal to pipelining and superscalar. So you can see this is the difference. You can have out of order also in addition to superscalar or without superscalar, or you can have out of order with pipelining or without pipeline. All those things are possible. Any questions here?
Sir, is this pipelining a software thing or hardware thing? Sir?
Hardware. Pipelining is a hardware issue.
How will it detect the code beforehand, sir?
No. Pipelining is in the hardware, right? So if there are dependency, your pipeline will stall. For example, just as I gave the example of courses, right? So suppose take an example of UG because it is a 4-year and that's easier to explain compared to your whereas master is just 2 years. So suppose somebody has to take some course in 4th year, which has a dependency or a prerequisite that unless you have taken this course from 2nd year, you cannot take that course. Or suppose another example, suppose somebody who's in 2nd year, they feel that okay, I have some medical issue or some other health reason, so I have to drop a whole semester. Sometimes students do it. So now he has gone out of sync. Okay, so he can take, suppose if he has to take my course in 3rd semester, now I offer that course only in the autumn semester. So only next year he can take that course. Okay, so this is like a disruption to the pipelining. So such disruptions can occur. So now your question is how does it know? So if there is no problem or there is no disruption, then pipelining happens very naturally. But if such exceptional cases occur, which I gave the example, right? Suppose some one instruction has a dependency on a previous instruction and so on, then you have to stop the pipeline for some time, or you have to insert null instructions. That means effectively pipeline is not doing anything.
Here the null instructions are introduced by software.
So there is actually, in fact, just today I was teaching this point to our UG students also. So there is compiler technique. Compiler can insert null instructions, or hardware can do what they call bubble. So hardware can also do that null instruction. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now I will also discuss one more concept, and then we'll go to. So here I will discuss what is big dot little style asymmetric multi-core processor. So big dot little is a commercial terminology used by ARM. Okay, and asymmetric multi-core is just like the common English word or research word for it. So here you can see the figure. So in ARM, so this is the big little. So now what is the motivation? So modern processors are diverse. Okay, good. Internet is not, there is power cut, but internet is not disrupted. Okay, very good. So modern processors, now you can see they have a lot of diversity. We need some processors which should have high performance, some which should have high energy efficiency. Okay, different workloads are used on different processors, and some of them are very small, like embedded systems. Some of them are very, very large, like data centers. So you can't design a single core which can fulfill all the requirements. Right, and that's why there are different types of processors. You can divide them in two broad ranges. One is called wide out of order cores, like Sandy Bridge. So this is from Intel, this is from IBM. So I have already introduced what is out of order, and by wide I may mean 2-way, 4-way, 6-way like this. So that's the meaning of wide. Okay. So in superscalar I introduced, right, there are 2-way, 3-way, n-way. That means how many we can simultaneously fetch, how many we can simultaneously decode or execute. That was the idea of way, or how much is the wide. And another is in order course. Very, very simple idea, right? In order course. I mean, they may have pipelining, but they are not out of order. Instructions will execute in the order in which they appear. So example of this is like Xeon Phi. Okay, so I will, if time permits, I will discuss Xeon Phi later, but Xeon Phi has been discontinued. So although I have a presentation, I may not discuss that presentation. So whole idea here is we will have many more cores, just like I discussed the example of GPUs. In GPU, each core is very, very simple, but you have too many of them. On purpose, they have kept each core very, very simple. Okay, so that each core consumes very less power. And you can have many cores fitted into your power budget. Whereas in CPU, they have only few cores, 8 to 16, but those cores are powerful cores. That means they will have high performance, but they will also consume a lot of energy. So you can't have many of them. Okay. So now next step is to use different types of core in the same processor. That's called AMP, or asymmetric multi-core processors. Okay. So here what you can do, you can have better energy efficiency than symmetric multi-core processors or per core DBFS. I have discussed what is DBFS. I think I have not. No, I have not discussed DBFS in this class. I will discuss it sometime, so you can skip that right now. So here is an idea. So in symmetric core, you will. So this is not an example of, the left side is not an example of AMP. This is an example of symmetric. Here the right side is the example of asymmetric. You can have here it's just the area, but it's not just area. But it is just for illustration that I'm showing area. But more area means also more power. It also consumes more energy. It is also more complex. Okay. So, okay, sorry. So now let me show example of actual ARM processors. So here, this is a pair. Here we have Cortex A15 and Cortex A7. They have the same ISA. And here these two also form a pair, A57 and 53. They also have a same ISA but different architecture. Okay, so for example, suppose I have my mobile phone. It will have this pair. It will have Cortex A15 and Cortex A7. So because they have same ISA, if I compile a program once, it can run on any of those cores, either A15 or A7. And suppose you purchase another mobile phone, which is probably slightly higher range, more costly. Your mobile phone may have this pair, A57 and 53, and because they have the same ISA, you run it on, you compile it once, it can either run on 53 or 57. Okay, so this first two form one pair of big little, where we will call this as big, this as little, and here this is big, this is little. Okay, now let us see what are their characteristics. So here you see the frequency. So here this is the big. Remember, this is big. That means usually it will give you high performance, and this will give you better energy efficiency. It will give you lower performance but better energy efficiency. So let us see how. So here it has higher frequency. Here it is lower frequency. Here it has out of order. There it is lower. This is in order. Okay, this is issue width. You remember, right? How much wide? I told you wide. So that is width. 3. Here at 2. Here it's very, very deep. Pipeline number of pipeline stages 15 to 24. Here it is just 8 to 10. Here cache sizes are larger than, either equal or larger than the small one. Okay, between this and this, this is larger or equal than this. Similarly, it will have usually bigger L2 cache. Now, So this is the architectural configurations. And here let us see what is the benchmark results. So here on certain XML parsing benchmark, it gives almost 100 MB per second, but it takes almost 20 units of energy. So if you see performance divided by energy, it is 5. Whereas here, although it gives less performance, it also consumes much less energy. That's why its performance per energy is higher. That's what I was referring to, higher energy efficiency. Similarly, here, same thing you can see here, higher frequency, more number of stages in the pipeline, higher performance, but also higher energy, and somewhat lower performance by energy. Okay, so I hope it is clear how we are forming big dot little pair. This is one big dot little pair, this is another big dot little pair. Okay, now big core is good for performance, small core has usually better energy efficiency, but EDP means energy delay product. So I'm going to skip all that. So now if you're more interested, you can see the paper. So